Can you share with me a concrete evidence, something that you can narrate in terms of evidence and not inference or inquiry, but evidence
on
in what you claim as land mafia?
Which mafia are you referring to, land or economic?
Let's first talk about land and then economic.
Land, first thing is, with regards to my specific case, Section 3 and 4 of Auroville Foundation Act was never enforced. Yeah, I cannot say it is an oversight because...
Can you elaborate your specific case?
Specific case, let us just come into Section 3 and 4. It is basically all ECs, any court order, EC, encumbrances certificate, sales deed, whichever stops Auroville Foundation from taking control over the assets of Shri Aurobindo Society, stand null and void. That was never physically enforced on ground. Okay, that was my specific case. So how does, what breeds criminal gangs in the area, right? Criminal gangs in the area come when the land documents are in disarray. It is very easy to forge documents, because in my specific case there was a person who forged the document, who is still forging documents, who is also entangled in various court cases with Auroville Foundation, in various other cases also. So these are the people who fabricate documents, and with the inquiry committee report, it was crystal clear that they are in fact shielding those people. That is one. So I would say...
How did it become crystal clear?
How they are shielding it? Yeah. Because the accused officer just denies the existence of the person when it is crystal clear on the encumbrance certificate and the sales agreement. Every land registrar who has read the agreement, every lawyer who has read the agreement, is crystal clearly stating that it is a forged document. And even if that document is true and not forged, then we have Section 4 of Auroville Foundation Act, that nothing which stops the foundation from taking over their own assets will stand true. It is null and void. So that is one. The whole reason why there were so many criminal gangs in the area, so many people were attacked or murdered in this sacred land, is because of non-confirmation of Masterplan, non-enforcement of the Ordinance. And there are other evidences in the inquiry committee report of lawyers who are working for Auroville Foundation, Land Board, and working committee, who themselves say that our people have, shielded encroachers, working with encroachers, giving tips to encroachers where to go, what to do, and also whisking them from law with the help of state police, and also dissolving, diluting matters in court. And this is not me who is telling, it is your own lawyer, your own Aurovillian who is telling.
Can you concretely define the scope of the default? The scope of the, I don't want to use the word crime, the scope of the, what should I say?
Well, how
the magnitude of...
Magnitude, yes, absolutely correct, absolutely correct. When we talk about every land encroachment case in Auroville, when we talk about any kind of, crime which happens outside Auroville also, but in and around the periphery of the pin code 605101, it is always Auroville institution which has its hands in ensuring that even in newspapers, it is stated as near Auroville and not in Auroville. Everything is diluted so that, these kind of crimes do not come out in the eyes of the public. If you talk about the magnitude of it, it started itself with the wrong foot, right? Because the trustees fought, so much of crime, so much of heckling and purging of people happened during that time. And they themselves approached the government to come and interfere. When the government passes a very strong parliamentary act, the Auroville Foundation Act, you don't want to enforce it because the henchmen that you have yourself hired, you have to shield them. That is the reason. So the magnitude is that the birth of land mafia criminal gangs in and around the area is because the master plan was purposely kept at a moot point from the beginning. So the so-called pioneers of Auroville from 1975 and whatever that people are worshipping right now are the ones who gave birth to these criminal gangs and also working in cahoots with these criminal gangs. The magnitude of everything is that sadly Auroville institution has bred criminal gangs in the end.
How did you get into this is the question. Obviously it's your personal case, but it still matter when all of a sudden how does all of this interests you?
Well, firstly, nobody wants to be in this position. Sometimes you're forced into this position by circumstances. Yes, I have gone through a lot of difficulties. Yes, I have been physically assaulted also. But now I would just say that probably I had to go through that so that I could be an instrument to Mother's will in some way. Yeah. How I got to it? Because I was just entangled in a rental dispute. It is all there in the inquiry committee report. And I would just summarize that was the beginning of my great adventure into Auroville. Yes, I was driven by my personal case, but it has nothing personal, actually. My personal case is handled by my litigation. It is the fault of the Auroville administration why all that happened. It was not just oversight, it was in cahoots, purpose. Otherwise, why would the institution have any problem if I have a problem with some landlord who is not even an Aurovilian? So they go head over heels. They do everything possible to cover up that personal case, which I knew they would. And that's exactly why the inquiry committee report was so crystal clear and also cryptic in a way, so that we could show the world how cover-ups are engineered in Auroville, how criminals are protected.
So supposing there is a master plan. There is not supposing, there is a master plan. Okay, but supposing the master plan is, let's say, evolving or let's say meandering. Okay, and there are properties which are outside of the master plan that Auroville has, and there are properties that non-Aurovilians have inside of master plan. So physicality of Auroville, the physical integrity of Auroville land is, let's say, spread out or compromised or helter-skelter. But still there is a kind of a essential integrity, or there is still a dream, and there are people who are working in terms of projects. Then what?
Meaning?
Then what?
Meaning?
Meaning, what's the harm
What's the harm if you breed criminal gangs?
No.
Then?
No.
What's the harm if you have...
harm if the property of Auroville is not integrated in one circular master plan, but it's spread out in patches, just like Auroville
That's exactly why you have so much of violence, so much of encroachment, so many litigations of Auroville which have not been solved for years and years. And that is why the Foundation Act was made to ensure that all these kind of irregularities stop.
Is Auroville the property of Auroville? Auroville is not the property of Auroville, is it?
Meaning?
Auroville is not the physical land of Auroville.
Auroville is a dream.
It's more than the physical land of Auroville.
I'm talking about Auroville. Auroville is an institution. Auroville has assets. Somebody has to own the assets, right? Otherwise it's a no man's land. Anyone can come and sit. Are you saying that it is a dream with a master plan that nobody cares? And yes, that's why encroachers are coming and sitting on your own land. That's why you guys are also going and sitting in villagers' lands, because you all don't know where your land is. You have no demarcation. And RTA has replied, I've asked, when have you last done the land audit? Are you saying you have 3,300 acres since 1970, 73, 75, and after the ordinance and after 1988, you've never done a land audit? Why? Why you have not done a land audit? Don't you think that is important? To define a township, define your borders? You guys have not done it. You have purposely not done it. Don't tell me it's people who are willing for the project. They've purposely not done it.